Hi everyone, it is Melissa with the Creative Season, welcoming you to the new adventure that is 2025. We are going to paint a stack of books, a beautiful amaryllis flower that has not bloomed yet. This is a really fun sketch and painting that you can even turn into a journal. I'm going to be putting the names of the books that I'm going to be reading this year, as well as a few other notes in the windowsills. Super relaxing and a great way to spend indoors on a super cold day like we have been having this year. So grab your paints and your sketchbook and let's get going. Welcome to our first painting session in 2025. It's hard to say that it's already 2025, but here it is, and we are almost at the end of January. And I thought we would do a fun project where we're looking forward with anticipation towards the year, a little bit of painting, a little bit of winter flowers with this amaryllis that's not quite bloomed. I showed a picture in the intro video, and this was the Christmas amaryllis. I pruned it down and another stalk is growing up. It's not open yet. So thought it would be fun to take this idea that I had at the end of the year, and I had done kind of a more of a Christmassy colors and just a stack of books looking out on a snowy night. And I thought it would be fun to flip that around towards the beginning of the year. Still winter, cold out, but we're going to paint a stack of books and we're going to paint our amaryllis, and just a symbolic of the new year. I'm actually going to write the name of books that I'm going to be reading this year, but you could also do a lot of other things. But a fun way to keep this as your first painting of the year, perhaps, or one of your first paintings of the year. I'm going to tell you how I sketched it. I started by painting my books, and once I had the books done, then I sketched out the flower behind it, and then finally the window paints. I'm going to come in closer so you can see that. With the book, I just recommend if you sketch this it's easier if you take, you don't need a ruler, but a straight pad or an edge. I would just go ahead and do my straight edge. I always start off with my bottom book, and then I just do a slight diagonal, and then I do a straight edge up, and then I meet them here. And then I just stack my books. And you can see my stack is messy because that's how my stack of books usually are, but you could always make yours perfectly straight. You can see in this one, I made them a little bit more straight, and you can only see the edges of a couple sides that are kind of sticking out sideways. These, with my window panes, I started out with my first window pane down the middle. I did my one across. I just sketched it with pencil, because then I just would erase the lines in between here. And I literally went like this with my fingers on the first window and then matched it for the second window, and then I ran out of space, and that was fine for that third one. And that was the sketch. So if you want to go ahead and take a minute and pause and sketch it, and then come back and we'll start painting together. Okay, let's go ahead and start painting. I'm going to back up just a little bit here for a quick second. I had realized I had darker blues, and I really wanted like a phthalo blue, because while my last painting, the one that I had done around Christmas time, was more of the primary colors, I want this to be bright and lighter and with more pinks and cooler for the new year. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pick up that beautiful phthalo blue. A cerulean blue or a cobalt blue would work really nicely too. So I'm going to just get a lot of water in there. Lots of water. And then I'm going to go ahead, a little bit more water here, and we're going to go ahead and start adding a little bit more water, painting in our sky. Now, I think make sure that you don't paint onto your windowsill, which we're going to just keep white for now. I'm going to add more water because I don't want it. Usually the sky is a nice light blue, but we don't want it too bright. But I'm just going to move it around my windowsills, or coming close to the edge, but not too close. Okay, and then just moving around my flower now. You'll notice when you sketch your flower, and maybe you may have seen in the picture, that the head of the flower doesn't go on straight. It actually, when I sketch it, it kind of is, you notice that there's like an angle here where the bulb comes down lower. It's very interesting. The amaryllis flower is really a fascinating bulb flower. I just cannot get over how it grows in the winter. I have it right next to the window, and we've had a lot of days in the teens, and it does not stop this flower from growing. And I figured if I'm a flower, I'm going to want to be next to the window to see what's happening outside, maybe to attract the attention of the birds that are flying by. There's not tons of birds right now, although the sparrows still are out, but there's no leaves on the tree, so they're not hanging around too much. But I did see a red robin in the weeks past that came and sang, and it was it didn't startle me, but it was so distinct because there's been so few birds around here. Where was I driving? I was driving and I saw a bunch of geese, and I did feel like they should be a little bit more south. I was up in Connecticut, and it was very cold there. It had just snowed. But there they were. Maybe they were en route from Canada, and they were on their way to somewhere warmer. Okay, so you can see too, let me bring this in closer, that these are a little bit lighter down here. And I can always, if I wanted to make this one a little bit lighter, I can add some more water and then take a paper towel, which I did have next to me, and I could always just blot it a little bit. But I don't mind one quadrant being a little bit darker or brighter, because you would think too, there's going to be, usually the sky doesn't look all the same. So we just continue to move this around. Isn't that a pretty blue? I do love this beautiful kind of a sky blue. It's a very different blue from using the ultramarine and the Prussian blue. Oopsie. When we were doing the winter sky, if you painted with me in the winter course, we use a lot of the ultramarine and we mix it with phthalo blue, so it has this very beautiful, almost like an Arctic deep dark blue. Okay. So that's great. That looks really good. You can always make this darker or lighter. And if you wanted to make yours a winter and night sky, just make it darker, add some ultramarine in there. Okay, so I'm moving this around. I'm thinking I might end up doing some journaling or some writing in the windows, and that's another reason I'm just going to leave them light. But that looks really pretty. I'm just going to play a little bit more. I don't want to go too dark around the flower because I'm going to paint the flower, and I don't want there to be that merging. I want it to dry pretty quickly. Let's go ahead and work on our books. Now I think for one of my books so this was a size 6 brush, and now I'm going to come back. I'll come in a little bit closer so you can see what I'm going to use for the books. I'm going to grab a smaller brush. I'm going to stick with the blue, and we're going to go ahead right here. And on, I think the second book from the top, I am going to go the darker, more saturated now. And I am going to just lay on that color. Now I had done the sketching overlay with the micron pen so you can see it. It would show up a little bit more. And you can always do that after too your paint dries if you want to create a distinguished look, or even write the names in of the books. What I'm going to do too is I am just going to, with light lines, add in almost like pages, but not too many. The other idea, okay, let's pick up another color. I'm going to do yellow, a green, a pink. I'll do a pink next. Maybe you're not a big reader, maybe you like audiobooks, and you could maybe write down the names of audiobooks that you'd like to read this year or listen to this year. Or maybe if you are planning on traveling, you can put the names of the places that you're traveling to, or maybe the friends that you would like to see. But it's kind of a fun way. There's 5 books, or even just 5 things that you would like to do or see in 2025. And I like the idea of the amaryllis here as well. I'm just going to do the bottom of the book. I'm not going to color the pages though this time, because the amaryllis is all about waiting and expectation. And so I love that it's not bloomed yet, and we can add this into our painting. We're still painting flowers. Usually I'm looking for a flower that's not necessarily blooming, but feels a bit wintry. And so this is, I think, the first year where I actually have a flower that's in season that we're painting here in January. naturally in season. I realize in greenhouses they're doing lots of flowers. Now, if you notice like me that a little pink was going onto your blue, just dab it up with either a dry paintbrush or a paper towel like I'm using. Let's go ahead and let's grab, I'm gonna do some yellow next. These are some very bright colored books, aren't they? But you know, I think with all the cold, I am just feeling in the mood to put a pop and a spark of color on my books. And you'll notice here that pink's trying to get in, so I'm just going to try to push it back to where it's supposed to go, or just pull a little of the pink into the yellow and it will turn into a bit of an orange book. And that is fine. I'll go ahead and do the edge of my book down here. Okay, we're gonna let those dry for just a minute here so we don't get complete merge, which I'm thinking might happen. I'm thinking since we haven't done the bottom yet, let's go a bottom book or our pottery. Let me go ahead and let's do the floor. That would be good. So let's go ahead and do the floor, or our windowsill is what this is. And I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do just a nice light brown. So we're gonna take a light brown here. And I think I'm just gonna pick up this burnt sienna, which is one of my favorite browns. And I'm going to go around the pottery here. We'll go up to the edge where the windowsill is, and over here as well. I'm actually just going to pull some water, and I want this to be pretty light. And just moving that around. We'll have it be a little bit darker where the pottery is. We're thinking too, if everything is sitting up against the window, we're going to have the shadows on this side, right? Because everything is, the light's coming through here. So it's going to be pretty light against the window. And we'll have some shadowing behind the books. Oh, my brown. And on the pottery. So I'm going to go right here with the pottery and even over the books here. And then when it dries, we can always come back and add a little bit more shadowing as well. But that's a good start. Now let's also go ahead and we are going to, the bulb that's sticking out, we're just going to go ahead and put the brown right in there. And over here. It has a little bit of green, so I'm going to leave that alone. And around the bulb, of course, is the dirt. I'm just going to go a little bit darker right over here. Okay, fabulous. A little bit here. Okay, go ahead and rinse off your brush, and then let's grab some yellow again. And the amaryllis, it has yellow and green in the stalk and in that covering bulb where it hasn't quite opened to show off the flower. So I'm going to go ahead and just put it on. Let me move this so you can actually see what I'm doing. Put this down for a minute. Let me move this guy up. Come back in. And I'm going to bring that yellow down here. And then maybe I'll pick up that yellow again and put it, we'll put it right here. That did turn to kind of orangish. That's okay. We'll do, maybe the bottom one will be yellow. Okay, let's pick up some green. You can either use a permanent green, even a sap green, which is going to be fine since we're mixing it with the yellow. I'm going to grab a permanent green, which is a little bit more of a spring green. I'm going to come right up here at the top, and I'm going to just start working my way down and around. Now I'm going to end up adding some blue as well. We have it darker over here, and I'm going to just pick up a little bit of the sky blue, mix it with my green, and then come back in. I don't want to add another blue to make it darker because I don't want to add too many more colors. I'm going to come down here now and just start merging that green down. And we had other stalks that are trying to grow up, which is so interesting. I don't know if they'll make it to full size, but I think there's 3 more little flowers that want to come, which I am all about that. They all want to come and grow. Fabulous. Absolutely fabulous, right? We will take all the blooming through January and February. Now over here too, where this bulb is sticking out, there's also just a little bit of green showing, so I'm just going to kind of dab around here. All right, I'm going to pick up some more yellow, and then I'm going to come back over here at the top and pull. I'm going to come a little bit closer so you can see that. And pull this all the way down. Just start pulling the yellow, so that way it's that yellow green. And again, that's where the light is shining on it a bit as well. And I'm going to pull that yellow all the way down over here. Pick up some more of that green. And I'll let that just almost dab that into the stalk that's over here. And then a little bit at the crown, or at the neck really of the flower, and at the top. And I'm going to leave that alone. I like that. I like that we have a little bit of texture there. I'm just going to pull that darker area a little bit over here, add a little bit more darker color here. I love the idea to try to get a little bit of that shadow. So when we back up here, let's make one of our books green, so we just don't have the green right there. So I think what I'll do is we'll make this book right here in the middle. I'm going to make this book green. And of course you can do all of your own colors. Any colors. You could even do all the same color. That would look very neat. And just kind of change it up just a little bit. I will end up, once everything dries, I will write on here, and I'll come back and I'll do just a little bit more sketching. Maybe make the books look a little bit rugged. One of the books that I'm reading this year is I've just restarted The Lord of the Rings. It's been a couple of years since I've read it, and I am just ready for that one again. And so that would represent maybe my bottom book. It's a thick one, but I'm looking forward to it. I feel like sometimes the cold months are a great time of year for like a really thick, like it's a Tolkien or Tolstoy or I don't know, C.S. Lewis, one of his books, or even some other literature that the weather's so cold, you don't even want to go outside. So you just want to sit by the window, look out, or maybe in a coffee shop. Okay, I'm going to pick up a yellow and just read and enjoy that opportunity. Because of course, once it gets warm, we're all going to want to be in the gardens or in the park, out doing things, seeing people. Oh, look at, we've got some sun coming through. Now on this part, if you can see on mine, bring this down a little bit, you can see the top of my book on the bottom because this blue one is kind of pushed to the side. So I am going to paint the top of the book right there. And then a little on the bottom of my book right here. Excellent. Okay, I'm going to also come back through and just do a little bit more yellow, kind of right under the blue. Again, showing some different, just showing some shadowing where there might be some shadows falling. Okay, great. If you want to, pick up your brown again and just come back under the pot. And I think I might leave just the pot white. I realize the pot wouldn't be white. Mine is it's a terracotta pot is the one I have it in, but maybe we're just going to leave it white. Now the one thing is I just have the pink right here, which I really should have the pink somewhere else, but you know, it may be. I'm just going to put a little bit of pink at the top of my amaryllis where it's just beginning to peek out. I'm going to put a little bit here. I'm just going to dab that. You do not have to do that, but dab a little bit of pink there at the top where it's beginning to show. And then the other place where I'm going to put a little bit of pink is I'm going to come over. I'm actually going to just deepen up my book cover for one. And then on the blue book, I think I'm going to just add just a little bit of pink. I just want to create a little bit another place where my color is. Maybe we're just going to pretend that this book had a multicolored spine, and some do. So I'm going to just dab in some color there. Just a little bit, not a lot. I'm going to put a little bit of blue over it. I just want to move that color around. Okay, I was originally going to try to fit a coffee cup on here too, and could have made that pink, but I felt like that would have been, I was going to put it either on top of the book or off to the side, but I felt like it was getting a bit squished. And we do try to paint within 20 minutes. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do now. It's only about 17 minutes, so that's perfect. I want to let this dry, and then we're going to come back and we're going to add in, I'm just going to show you how I'm going to add in a little bit of detail. So let it dry, and then I'll see you back here in just a few minutes. Hi everyone, well I am back. I've got more tea, and I had to put on a different sweater because it is so cold. Let me get this beautiful amaryllis out of the shadows. Also, it is not that late and already we just lose the sun. So I'm glad to come back with you. It's completely dry now, and I wanted my painting to be dry so that I would not smear anything, which I do. So what I just want to show you is how I'm going to quickly finish up. And do you see how oh, I had some paint on there. Okay, I grabbed this is my favorite eraser. If you have paint on your eraser, definitely get that paint off. It happens. But go ahead and just erase, and we're just not going to let that bother us. Erase any pencil marks, so like your window sills here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to put some pen over them because the pen looks really good. You don't have to though. But I'm just going to erase them. If you have any pencil marks on like your books, I'm just going to erase those, and we're just going to put in a little bit of pen work, really just a little bit. I'm going to come back through, making sure you can see this here, and I'm just going to sketch some of my lines in. So you can see I'm not doing a hard line. I'm really just doing a nice little sketch, and you don't have to do this at all. But because the blue was a little bit light, and because I think I am going to possibly use this to do just some planning for 2025, not just like fun stuff, like I am going to put down my books that I'm going to read, and if just a few other things. I've got some things I want to memorize this year, so I think I'm going to put those on. Go ahead and go around, making sure you can come a little closer, around your pot. And and I'm just going to do a little sketching here. Maybe if you have a word of the year or a verse of the year, you might want to sketch it in to your pot here, or just your windowsill. And then now too, this is the time, if you want, you can go ahead and write in maybe some of those books that you're going to read, or the places you're going to go, the people that you're going to visit perhaps. So for example, I'm going to put down on here, I am just going to put, you could do this in pencil first just to make sure that it fits, but you know me, I can be a little bit impulsive, but I will grab a pencil here. And coming at the bottom, let me pull that back so you can see this. And I think I'm just going to sketch out Lord of the, okay, good. I just wanted to make sure, I'm actually going to erase that. I just wanted to make sure I had enough room. Okay, and then I'm going to make this kind of fancy Lord of the Rings. That's going to be a book I'm going to read this year. You could also make your books look a little bit scruffy, right? If they're kind of maybe vintage books, you can just play with the covers or the book binding here, but just have fun with it. Now, you might want to put a little bit more paint in here. You can certainly do that now too. If you wanted to put a little bit more, I have some clean water. I'm going to back up here just a little bit. So for example, maybe just a little bit of shadowing. I'm going to turn off my soup. I had some leftover soup. I'm so glad I did, because sometimes when it's so cold, you just want something hot. Hot tea, hot soup. Okay, I'm going to go over underneath my book. Now that everything's dry, I can be a little bit more bold with my shadowing. Now I am going to use that brown, but I could also add a little bit of the blue to the brown, and that'll add in just a little bit of a deeper shadow. And again, a bit of shadow right up against the windowsill. If you feel like it's too dark, you can just take some water, just soften it. And I do like to soften it because the shadow diminishes as it goes back, right? You can do that. You can also take a little bit of that brown and go just right up underneath where I'm actually going to put a little pink underneath my pot, just again where there'd be a little bit of shadowing. Right over here, maybe over here as well. You could do that with some pink or some blue. It's just subtle, it's not a lot. I'm gonna pick up just a little bit of green, and I'll bring this back now so you can see the whole thing. And then I might just do a little bit of green right here. Over here on the book, where I just had a little bit of blue, I might put a little bit of green underneath the yellow, just again show some contrast or some shadowing. And that's it, nothing too big. Now you could go around maybe with a little bit of the blue, and if there's any edges that you just wanted to create more blue, more of a contrast, this is a great time to do that too, because we don't have a lot of wetness. So it's not going to merge anywhere it's not supposed to. So you can move around, even go around the flower, our amaryllis. Since again, we're not going to have that green merging into the sky, which is really just a bummer when things merge into our sky, right? But that looks really nice. It's a beautiful picture. And then again, I'm going to do some journaling. I'm going to write down books I'm going to read. I've got a couple of things. I'm just going to fill it in. And this is small enough where I can stick it inside my journal, or I can put it on my desk and use it throughout the year. Just remind myself, maybe jot down some notes. But just a fun way to dream, imagine, plan, a little bit of fun planning for 2025. I am so glad you're with me. I hope you stay warm today, light a candle, read a book, get some tea, make some soup, and I will see you here very soon when we continue to paint beautiful flowers together in 20 minutes or less. I will